welcome to another TADPOG podcast, a weekly show where two old guys talk about old games. I'm your bearded host, Tyler. When I was in the 3rd grade, I used to write fiction about me getting drafted into the NFL and playing for the St. Louis Blues. Yeah, I was about 8 or 9. I've never actually played hockey before, and I was just really into the Mighty Ducks at that point. And every Friday for about 2 months, my teacher would read my fiction out loud to everybody.
Do you have any of it still?
I bet I do in my mom's attic.
I think you should find some, and I'll read it on the show in my sexy NCIS fanfiction voice. I'm Dave, in case you were wondering. I'm your bespectacled host. In line with what we're talking about this week, I was probably the pimpliest Obi-Wan Kenobi for Halloween my freshman year of high school. And if I can find the photographs, I'll go ahead and post them.
That's ballsy. That's good. That's good.
So that's my really, really desperate attempt for you listening to come to the Facebook page.
I approve.
What we do here on this show is we're playing our way through IGN's top 100 Super Nintendo games and muse about our experiences right here. This week, we are talking about Super Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, and that is IGN's 91st ranked Super Nintendo game.
Before we get to all that, I guess we can go ahead and talk about what we've been playing this week. So, Dave, what have you played anything this week?
Not that I've been playing, I've been playing Tabletop Pathfinder and Ping Pong. I tried to fight a Dark Souls boss. I spent about an hour on it and then just realized I'd rather do something else.
Okay, that's fair.
That's a pretty lame answer. How about you?
Let's see, I beat Professor Layton, the last Spectre.
You finally found the last Spectre.
I found that Spectre
Right.
and I lasted it. It's gone.
Was it good?
Because it's the next level of Professor Layton. It had animated cutscenes and a lot of voice acting. So I think the Unwound Future, the Unwound, whatever the third one was, that had some voice acting in it. But this was the first one that had animated cutscenes. So it was a nicer quality game. But overall, I didn't like the story as much.
Did it have a Chun-Li in the shower scene?
No.
Okay. What's the girl in the yellow?
There's a girl. There is a girl. Emmy, I think was her name.
No shower scene there.
Because I didn't find the story of the game as enjoyable. I found myself just pressing my stylus against very quickly trying to get the next puzzle.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think any Professor Layton game is bad, but this was my least favorite Professor Layton game.
I started it. I stopped playing it, as you know.
So,
We've talked
I
about
understand
it.
that completely.
So you finished that, and I know last week you said that you were going to play 999.
Yes, I started playing 9 persons, 9 hours, 9 doors.
How was it?
I'm not that far, but
Yeah.
it's extraordinarily promising.
What's the story behind it? There's like a murder or something like that?
It's sort of a mix from what I've played. If you take Phoenix Wright and Lost and Seventh Guest and just smash them all together. You start off, your Junpei that's your name? The original character.
Junpei?
He wakes up, and I assume on a ship because it has like a ship's porthole and kind of the cramped confinements of a ship.
And what do you mean? You said original character?
I assume there are more characters in it.
Oh, okay.
But the first person you start off with is
Okay.
Junpei.
Okay. So Junpei wakes up on a ship.
Junpei. I try not to say it with my country accent. You start off as Junpei, and you're on a ship, and Junpei's all like, "What the hell? I'm on this ship, man."
Regardless, whatever it is, it's Junpei now.
Junpei. He wakes up. He doesn't remember why he's there at first, and he just sees he's locked in this door that just has a 5 on it. And then he has this strange contraption on his wrist that also has a 5 on it.
Okay.
And then there's a strange...
I'm liking this already.
There's a strange contraption on the door that looks like an antique card reader.
Yeah.
As he's trying to remember what happened to me. Because he hit his head, he has a headache,
Right.
and he turns around and he sees a porthole. And when he goes to look through it, it cracks and water starts flooding into the room. And then you have to go through a series of, like a description pops up, escape from this room. And then you have to start investigating for clues about...
Penny's boat.
You got about a pen, you have to write it on your palm and smack it up against the porthole. Because it's kind of Seventh Guest-ish, and you go and click on the little things.
Yeah.
And then try to open up a kettle, and there's a key inside, and you have to find out what you might need this key for.
Spoilers.
Well, then you find what the key is for. Then you have to have a code. So then you start to remember what happened to you. And he was on his way home from work. He got to his apartment. Somebody came in and gassed him, and you just saw somebody in a mask and a voice modulator saying he was chosen to play the game. He should be honored.
Well, awesome.
Hey kids, we're home early. Put you on a ship. You're number 5.
That's actually not in the extended commercial. Have you seen the extended commercial?
No.
I'll post it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure everyone listening is probably familiar with the Talk Boy commercial, but you need to see the extended commercial.
Anybody as old as we are is familiar with the Talk Boy commercial.
Right. Cool. I guess I'm going to have to pick that up, maybe put Dark Souls to the side. I hate to do that again because what will happen is enough time will pass by where it'll get to the point where I feel like I need to start it all over again from the beginning.
Well, I mean, if it's not like that one article I was reading in Game Informer about the guy who started to hate video games because he made himself play them and had to get every quest, beat every boss, and it was driving him crazy. So once he learned to step away when he wasn't having fun, he started having a lot more fun. I guess I haven't brought up audiobooks in a few weeks.
No,
so
you haven't. What are you reading? What are you quote-unquote reading?
I finished the First Law trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Abercrombie.
Joe Abercrombie.
Mm-hmm.
It started off, like I said, I think I've mentioned the first one. It was weak, the first one, like the first 90%.
Mm-hmm.
Then it got good, and then it just rode that tide through the other 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are 2 standalone novels I'll get to, but the trilogy itself, second 2 books, pretty fantastic. But I like my fantasy dark, and it does take several dark turns. One of the main characters, Glockter, he was once like a heralded hero, a handsome man, got captured and tortured into now he's just this crippled monster. He can't control his bowels, he can hardly walk, and Abercrombie does an amazing job of making him an appealing anti-hero.
Really? I like dark fantasy as well. And I guess, is it similar to like how Game of Thrones handles dark, or because
I want to say it isn't as politically charged as Game of Thrones. The magic is about as prevalent. Like the magic is, it's there, but it's
like a
not.
little magic.
It's not the main stage at all, and it's kind of a weaker system of magic.
I may need to check this series out then. I think Game of Thrones, there's some of the best horror scenes that I've ever read, and not just a fantasy novel, but across the board. There's some really horrific scenes in there.
I don't know if there's anything exactly horror-ish. The battle is done very well. The battle is done very gritty and descriptive. And he's not overly descriptive like I think R.A. Salvatore is. Like R.A. Salvatore, I'll spend 6 hours reading about how Dritz twists his scimitars around and just in excruciating detail.
I've never been a really big fan of his, but it sounds like the Law trilogy. Is that what you said?
The First Law trilogy.
First Law trilogy.
Named after, like, there are certain rules of magic everyone has to follow, and it's all about people who break the first law of magic.
That sounds cool. Have you heard about the fantasy exchange on Reddit?
No.
I looked into it just a little bit today. It's essentially you sign up to send some other Redditor something fantasy related, and then another Redditor will send you something fantasy related.
I would do that. I always worry about getting involved in the Reddit gift exchange.
Yeah.
I'll do it eventually. Not only, is it dark, I like stuff, not just like fantasy, but just across the board in any fiction. I like it very bittersweet. If I get to where I love a character, I love it more when they die and rip my heart out. I do that a lot in my D&D games. Like I'll set up NPCs only to take them away from you later when you love them just for that visceral emotional reaction. But yeah, Joe Abercrombie does a good job on the First Law trilogy of meeting everything that I specifically like about that kind of fantasy.
Right
and then
on.
now I've started the last book in the Iron Druid quadrilogy. I don't know if there's going to be more, but the 4th and last book. It's more of your lighthearted read. Or lighthearted listen, since I don't actually read.
Same difference.
Yeah.
I was giving you shit earlier, but I'm not one of the people that think there's really a difference. You put the time in. I mean, you're having the story read to you. I mean, it's really no different. I don't think it's any different than reading. I mean, it doesn't for me, because like with fiction, I have to read it. I can't listen to it and process it that way.
I understand that because a lot of fiction is more complex. It's frustrating for me if my mind starts wondering and something important will inevitably happen and I'll have to backtrack 20 minutes.
I think that's my problem, is I have a problem actively listening where I don't have a problem visually. Because that happens to me all the time, is 20 minutes will go by and then I'll kind of zone back in and realize that I have no idea what's going on.
Read?
Right?
What did I just read?
What the hell?
Of course, the wife of Josh Nance, the Uniracers co-host, she does not agree. I found out she was covertly talking some shit about me, like, he doesn't even read these books. He just listens to them. It's just the same Nicole Nance. if you're listening to this, which you claim to listen and like everything on Facebook. So calling you out for talking.
She's on our
lighthearted
shout outs
shit
like
about
every
me.
week, so I'm pretty sure she'll get the message.
But let's see. I brought up D&D earlier. I want to apologize to all my players last night. I'm going to broadcast it on TADPOG, Dave being one of my players. Every Sunday, I run a Pathfinder game, a dwarf game. So everybody plays a dwarf, worshiping gods of the Dwarven Pantheon, going on dwarven adventures in the Underdark. And I want to do something a little outside of the norm. And I took one of the Professor Layton puzzles and tried to translate it to something they could tactically do with their hands to get through the dungeon. And I did 2 puzzles. The first one went very well. The second one, I didn't realize that I had messed up on it till they had worked on it for an hour.
Yeah.
Like the last hour. So I had to be like, all right, I fucked it up. Everybody go home.
Well, what was great about it was everyone was ready to leave. I mean, I wasn't, but most everyone was ready to leave. And you were like, well, let's just do this puzzle and then we can be done. So we start the puzzle and an hour goes by. And I think at that point, a lot of people were just like, fuck it. So apology accepted. I think we should celebrate.
Yes.
Our newfound love for tactile puzzles taken from Professor Layton with Amando. What do we have? What did they send us this week, Tyler?
Our kind sponsor sent us Chillin' Cherry.
Chillin' Cherry.
Chilling Cherry.
I'm going to like this, I think.
Yeah, I'm worried about this.
Do you? It's going to taste like cough medicine. Yeah, it is going to taste like cough medicine.
Yeah, oh man. It's like tussin.
It is.
It's like you mix Robitussin with water. That is Chillin' Cherry Mondo.
Yeah, this is the worst one we've had. One would think it would have been Kiwi Strawberry Splash.
Nope, Chillin' Cherry.
Chillin' Cherry.
Yeah, Dave usually keeps the Mondo by him. This one he immediately pushed to the middle of the table.
As far away from me as possible. It's as if I may have pushed it with the force. How do you like that segue?
Oh, tie it.
Yeah. Because, like I said earlier, we're talking about Super Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. You want to know a little bit about this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'd like to know a lot bit about it.
Well, we'll get into that. That's IGN's 91st game. It's a single-player run-and-gun developed by LucasArts and published by THQ in 1993. It's the second in the Super Star Wars series and is based on a 1980s movie that you might have heard about called The Empire Strikes Back, maybe. Heard of it? Have you heard of it?
I think the Robot Chicken talked about it, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we can go ahead and get the elephant.
Supposedly it's a movie. I don't know.
A motion picture.
Yeah. One of the talkies.
Dave and I are dancing around an elephant that is sitting in our recording studio, which I will tell everyone about. I have never seen the original Star Wars trilogy.
Now you say it like a confession, but I think it's actually
it's like a geeky. It's half confession, half geeky.
Half geeky what?
Half geeky stripes that everyone's supposed to have. I do not have. So never seen episodes 4, 5, and 6, which I haven't because my father didn't love me very much.
Oh?
No, he loved me plenty, but it is his fault because
I don't think I've ever heard this. Okay.
Let me explain the entertainment policies of the house I grew up in.
Does this have anything to do with the family drama that the Goonies 2 caused?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. My dad, he does not see things more than once. A TV show, a movie, he's seen it once, he never needs to see it again. So he saw Star Wars when they came out. Mm-hmm. He saw all of them. But because he'd seen them, he was going to take me to see them because he'd already seen them.
Did he like them?
I think he liked them okay. Like whenever the new ones came out, he expressed an interest in them. Mm-hmm. He didn't go see them, but he'd like, oh, all right. So all of my entertainment growing up, Dad had seen it. We didn't really watch movies. There wasn't a lot of music in my house.
What'd you do?
I played video games. I played video games to the point where he would get mad at me and make me go outside. In which case,
Goonies 2 drama.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to that episode so I can find out this family drama.
Yeah. It has something to do with cousins.
Oh, God.
Cousins and former uncles.
Oh, no.
Nothing sexual, just cousins and former uncles.
No buttholes.
Whenever I say former uncle, everybody's got, oh. How does uncles and Goonies 2? No, they can't be good.
Family drama. Court.
Court. I believe the only movies I saw as a kid, we went to go see Forrest Gump, and my dad made us walk out of Forrest Gump.
Why?
Because Lieutenant Dan said GD too much.
Okay.
So once he was on the ship, he made us all get up and we left the theater.
Cool with Tom Hanks jizzing in his pants. Not fine with
it's that language that Lieutenant Dan said. That was too much.
Right. Okay.
We went to go see Captain Ron.
Oh my
The
God.
glorious Kurt Russell movie.
Right.
We sat through that entire thing.
There has to be a video game adaptation of that, right?
If not, I'll make it with RPG Maker. I'm going to take our license and make the Captain Ron RPG.
I forgot you had that.
Yeah. Once I graduate, I'll get to play around with it. And then we're going to make Jacob Fighting Wolves and the Captain Ron RPG.
That could be a mini game. So you're blaming your dad that you never saw him.
Yeah, because I mean, when they were released in the theaters, I asked him, like, can we go see these? I've already seen them. So it just never happened. And my mom didn't like movies.
I know you've had several friends say,
here's another thing.
come and watch the movie with me.
I've heard two things from all of my friends whenever I say, I have two standard things. People generally consider standard things that I haven't done that all my friends are like, you've got to do this with me, which is see the Star Wars trilogy and get drunk. Because I've never done either of these, and a lot of my friends have claimed, oh, you have to do this, you have to do all that with me. I'm going to get you, I'm going to show you Star Wars. Oh, I'm going to get you so drunk. Nope.
You definitely need to watch Star Wars. I'll put it that way. If you don't ever get drunk in your life, I think that's fine. But you have to watch Star Wars. You have to.
I guess I was straight edge growing up, given the house I was in. But like whenever I was in high school,
House Slytherin.
yeah, there you go. Whenever I was in high school, it was all about, Jesus says you shouldn't ever even look at alcohol. So that's why it wasn't part of my world.
Is that true? Does he say that?
Not in the Bible, but in a lot of cartoons that I've seen that I was shown in Sunday school, he was very much against it.
I normally dig stuff up for the show notes. I really want you to find the cartoon where Jesus says
I don't even remember.
that you're not supposed to look at alcohol.
Meg is a priest. I tell Meg about
Your wife, Meg.
my wife, Meg. I tell her about my early religious experiences, and she just cringes. Because, of course, I was taught Jesus didn't turn water into wine. He turned water into grape juice. They just called it wine back then. But it wasn't actually alcoholic.
Really?
Truly.
Truly.
And she was just like...
And also...
That was kind of how they kept things safe, because they didn't have, potable water. So I was like, nope, sorry, grape juice.
And also, you learn that Jesus is the son of Anakin Skywalker.
I know all about Anakin Skywalker.
Right, because you saw...
I'm a big fan.
You saw the
seen
prequels.
Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
What'd you think of them?
I guess since I didn't have the nostalgia factor that everyone else had comparing the two, like I imagine if you played Chrono Cross before you played Chrono Trigger, you probably think Chrono Cross was a pretty good game, which I hear it is a good game. I haven't played it. But there are parts I didn't think were great at all. Like I can recognize bad writing, but...
The sand.
That did make me just
everywhere.
I put my head in my hands whenever he had the sand gets everywhere.
Right.
Screw it. Hayden Christensen, no thank you. The
Popular
pod racing.
Popular strippers name their sons Hayden Christensen.
we tell that story.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Hold that thought. Let's bust open the Hayden Christensen.
I've been telling a lot of stories. You should tell this one.
Oh man, we went to what was it? Foxy Lady.
The Foxy Lady in Paris, Tennessee.
So if we have any listeners in Paris, hello.
If you worked at the Foxy Lady, write us, please.
Sadly, your fine establishment is no longer in business, as far as I know. But we went there one night, and a friend of ours was flirting with the strippers, really trying to get one to come back with us.
Yeah. He asked her eventually at the end of the night. She did not come home with us.
Well, the reason she didn't was because, do you remember what she said?
She had to go to
the river.
She go to the river and look at the water in her car.
Yeah, sit in her car at the river. So
another friend was like, "That's code for something."
Right, I don't know.
And we just didn't know what it was code for.
I don't know what stripper code it was. None of us thought to go to Urban Dictionary. But anyway, somehow we started talking about. Well, I mean, every stripper will straight up tell you about that they're a single mom and they have a kid.
When they come up and talk to you and sit in your laps in between the time they spend on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, they garner sympathy that way and whatever. We asked the stripper what her son's name was, and she said it was Hayden. And then we said, Hayden Christensen? Because Phantom Menace had come out not too long before.
Just making a joke.
And she was, yeah.
And she pulls out
A
this
photograph.
It looks more like she cut it out of a magazine and tried to pass it off as a picture of her son.
Let me put
named
photograph in quotation marks. So anyway, that's the Hayden Christensen story.
So we just stared at her, and after she said she had to go to the river, we left.
Right. Well, you stared at her naked. You left a very important part off of that sentence.
Because I think it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Because that is a normal tradition. We enjoy going Christmas Eve when everyone's in town. They've done all their family obligations. So we'll go to the strip club, but really late on Christmas Eve.
I like how we're talking about going to the strip club on Christmas Eve. In the same episode, we're talking about Jesus turning water into grape juice.
and my hockey fiction.
All right, so some of the writing was weak in the original trilogy.
I thought the pod racing and Phantom Menace, I hated that.
Yeah.
That was, of course,
A very long sequence.
Jar Jar Binks was awful and annoying. Darth Maul and that whole fight, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
That was pretty much all the movie was to me. That fight scene was the movie.
I'm on board with that. You still didn't answer. I know you said that everyone's saying that you have to watch Star Wars with them. What has kept you from... Has no one actually seriously extended the invitation that you did?
No one's like had the DVD and been like, hey, let's watch this. Of course, I am hard pressed to watch a movie outside of a movie theater. If episodes 4, 5, and 6, remastered or whatever, came out in the theater, I would go see them then. I would see them opening night.
They might do that.
If they did if they released them on
7.
IMAX, I would go see them. But
you keep upping it.
if they
release it in the theater, and then I'm like, well, they might do that. Well, it has to be IMAX.
Okay, I would go to our regular movie theater 6 miles away.
I think the truth is that you really don't want to see these movies.
I'm very leery of going to see them.
Yeah. Were you worried you're not going to like them? Or?
Few things in my life have been built up to me as much as the original Star Wars trilogy. Also, having seen the others first, there is an expectation of combat that I'm sure I'm going to be like, why isn't Yoda doing 800 backflips at the speed of light, chopping everybody down?
It's still pretty exciting. I'm not going to sit here and say you're going to love the trilogy, the original trilogy, but I haven't expressed this yet on the mics, but I love the original trilogy. I think they're super, super important movies. The story is really good. Sometimes, the writing isn't that great, like the dialogue isn't that great. Sometimes the acting is a little off, but as a whole, the story is really good, and I think you would dig it. I really do. I think you dig from a story standpoint alone. I think you dig it because it's a lot more cohesive than the prequels were.
Because I recently got the trilogy 1080p Blu-ray because my brother wanted to see it. Because of course my brother is my brother, so he was in the same boat I was growing up. He had never seen them, so I got them and gave them to him like last week. So he's probably seen them by now. I think for playing this game that it was favorable because there's no nostalgia factor for me in playing this game.
I feel like I need to find like some royalty-free violin music. You just play like just sadly in the background as you go on. It probably was important to have watched the movie to fully enjoy the game. This game, Super Star Wars Empire Strikes Back.
Because I'm playing it, it's like you're Anakin's son. Right?
Sometimes
you're Anakin's son. I don't know how many midichlorians he must have, so how powerful he is.
At least 5.
Because Padme didn't have any midichlorians. Right. Are they passed on genetically? Okay, so I don't know how powerful this Luke is.
Luke, Skywalker, son of Anakin. Hey, I've got trivia for you. How you like that? Just off the top of my head.
All right, good.
Okay, let me just figure out the best way to word this.
He played Cockknocker and James Bob Stripe.
Who is Mark Hamill? What Final Fantasy character is named after Anakin Skywalker? I'll give you a hint if you'd like one.
Yeah.
His nickname is also a Star Wars reference.
The only ones that I know of that are Star Wars references are like Biggs and Wedge.
That's correct. That's not what I'm looking for. But yes, those are Star Wars references.
Because I've heard people be like, yeah, Biggs and Wedge like Star Wars. Like, what about Pierre? Biggs, Wedge, and Pierre from Chrono Trigger. It's like, Pierre's not in.
We don't. Now, Pyatt is, and I think it might have been I don't know if it was a translation error or what, but Pyatt was an admiral for the Empire. So that might have been their intentions in Chrono Trigger. I don't know.
Okay, well, that would make sense.
What I was looking for was Red 13. Do you recall his real name? In case any of our listeners are not familiar with Final Fantasy VII, which I'm sure you all are.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It's coming to Steam, by the way.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm. It's somewhere in the files of my memory, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Because I didn't look this up prior to us recording, I'm probably going to butcher it and not get it right. But his real name, Red 13's real name, is an anagram of Anakin. It's Nakina or something like that.
Okay.
And his nickname, Red 13, in the original, in A New Hope, the episode 4 of Star Wars, Luke's squadron, he's in the Red Squadron when they do the attack on the Death Star. And there's 12 members in the Red Squadron. So Red 13, he's the 13th member.
That's pretty good. That's pretty covert. I would have never guessed that.
That's one of the things.
That's good off the top of your head.
I still love about Square is that like in the 90s, you could tell that their developers were, at least if it wasn't the developers, if it wasn't originally intended by the Japanese, I don't know, but maybe it was just in translation. But someone was a huge Star Wars fan.
Yes.
Star Wars fan.
And it works out pretty well. I like that. I like that a lot.
So yeah, Luke, you play as Luke a little bit. You mentioned him.
And Han Solo.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you play as Han Solo. You also play as Chewbacca for 2 stages. So he's just kind of thrown in there. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the game fact that we used for this game. Do you recall the
horribly written game facts?
My favorite part about that, what made me think about it is because there's only like 2 stages where you play as Chewbacca. And one of them is the quote unquote toy factory, which is what it really is a smelting facility in Bespin, because what they do there is mine gas and smelt it. But the guy who wrote the game facts called it the toy factory because the enemies are really small and they reminded him of toys.
Oh my God. I didn't play to that extent because I was like, oh, I guess at some point in the movie they must go to a toy factory.
I got really worried because I was asking you, like, we were playing and I was like, how many more stages are left? Because there's a lot of stages. And you said, well, I mean, you got this and this and then the toy factory. I was like, what the fuck did they do in this game to add a toy factory?
Because I just imagined Luke Skywalker in like a Joker level from Batman, just jumping around. All right, George Lucas, I hear he's crazy. Toy factory. They fall down that garbage chute and get pressed in, and I guess then they go to the toy factory. Yeah. That's as much as I know about the movie.
It's a one-way ticket. And then Darth Vader's home is the last stage, according to the game fact. Mm-hmm. Darth Vader's home.
Apparently, you fight an illusion of Darth Vader, then you fight real Darth Vader.
Yes.
So that's a scene I'm looking forward to. I want to see illusion Vader and then real Vader.
That's another instance where the guy who wrote the game facts or the game fact doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I think it was funny because as I was reading it, I was like, I don't think this guy saw the movie either. So it's like between you and the guy who wrote the game fact, it's just like, because Darth Vader he's not an illusion, he just runs away. Like he just moves off the screen. It's not like he vanishes into smoke or anything.
Force illusion.
and that happens in The Empire Strikes Back, is when Luke and Vader start fighting.
I don't know.
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Luke gets him on the run, so it's not an illusion. He actually does fight an illusion of Vader in Dagobah earlier in the movie as well.
Okay, so it does happen. So my clever joke actually does happen.
It does happen, but not in Darth Vader's home, like it says in the game.
Darth Vader's home. Go to his house. Mm-hmm. He's not really there. Mm-mm. But Toy Factory. You go to your dad's. You go to your dad's house and go to Toy Factory. Yay, Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Where does he live? Empire Street.
Space.
Fine. The Dester. Mm-hmm. Are there any other liberties that the game makers took that are a big departure from the movies?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A lot. In the movies, there's not a giant Wampa, which is the abominable snowman type. There's not one.
The Yeti, okay.
There's no Yeti that's 10 feet or that's 10 stories high and blows frost out of his mouth. They take a lot of liberties with bosses. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
A lot of liberties with bosses. I also don't recall the movie being as difficult as the game is. It's a lot. The movie's a lot easier. So if you're looking for less of a challenge, but you want to kind of follow the story, I would recommend just watching the movie.
Yeah, because the game is pretty challenging.
It's hard.
And when we're looking at the game facts, the guys just, you have to go here and kill the enemies. It is hard. Just do it.
Which reminded me of the Uniracers game fact that we read, where there were a few stages where the guy who wrote it was just like, "This is hard. Good luck."
Do some tricks.
I thought the game was difficult too, and I remember playing it as a kid because I played this one shortly after it came out because I was a big Star Wars fan, and these games were really, really. I don't know if you recall.
I don't.
These games in the magazines at the time, like Game Pro and all that, these games are really hyped up. They were a big deal, and I remember them being critiqued really well as well.
So imagine the licensing rights alone, like they were like, we're already spending a lot to make these games, let's promote them. Mm-hmm. Enemies don't exactly have to hit you. They just sort of get close to you and kind of insinuate they're going to hit you, and you die.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty typical of run and gun games, because a lot of times you die because something runs into you.
It's not forgiving at all when it comes to taking damage.
Well, and the platforming is really, really difficult as well. The increasing lengths that you fall.
Because it's just the game's just taunting you. The further you get, and when you fall down, the falls go from like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds before you die.
Right.
Like you're just sitting there watching Luke just
fall and fall and fall. Yeah, stage 1, you fall and die. Stage 2, you fall a little bit further and die. And it seems like you get like stage 5, and if you fall while you're trying to platform, you also just set the controller down.
It's like so many nights of the round. Just
Right.
sit it down, go make a sandwich, come back, then you'll have been falling down and squashed and dead. The Yetis, or you said the Wampa,
right.
the ice breath ones underground.
Right.
If they randomly hit you with their ice breath, you may as well just, gotta try again in a second.
Because they freeze you.
You're frozen for a long time.
Right.
And then things will just come down and hit you.
Right. Yeah, it's true. You don't see any of them breathe frost in the movies, so that's a liberty. There are a lot of liberties that are taken here, but some things are pretty faithful, like the cutscenes, the quote-unquote cutscenes that happen. Those are pretty faithful representations of scenes from the movies, the ones that take place in between each stage. Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool, and I feel like that those look really good, too.
Yeah, they were Harrison Ford's face.
Yeah, you could recognize them.
Yeah.
One of the guys, I found this out when I was doing research for the game, or for this episode. There was a contest, and I think, I can't remember, it was like Electronic Gaming Magazine. Mm-hmm. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but there was a contest for you to be in the game. So what they did was, and it makes me want to go back and play to this point, when Luke gets back to the Echo base, and they have the cutscene where you see everyone as they should be, and then they took someone's face out of the scene and put the winner's face in there. And I didn't catch it when we were playing, but I really want to find it now. And it would be great. I won't do this, but what would be great is if we did a side-by-side of the still from the movie versus the game.
So Micah Purdue, get on that.
Yeah, Micah, please.
But see, I was under the impression that lightsabers and laser guns are powerful pieces of equipment.
Blasters.
Mm-hmm. Like laser guns, blasters, phasers. Set them to stun, right? Yeah, phasers.
I can't really say anything because in A New Hope, the stormtroopers do in fact set their blasters to stun.
So my attempt at a crossover humor joke, I'm going to cross that off my paper.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to be pretty much just destroying any kind of community.
That's all right. There are several levels where you're in... Are you in the Millennium Falcon as Han? And that's when you're fighting the AT-ATs or AT-ATs, however you...
There is a stage where you're in the Millennium Falcon. You're in an asteroid belt. And it's a pretty exciting scene from the movie. And you're fighting TIE fighters that come in, so Imperial ships. But yes, there's also a stage where you're Luke, in a snow speeder. And yeah, you're taking down the AT-ATs or AT-ATs, as you affectionately call them. That's I felt like that's a big deal. I remember playing it the first time and being amazed that I could do this in a video game because it uses Mode 7, which I think is a special chip that some Super Nintendo cartridges had on them, which allows false 3D. All of Top Gear 2 was Mode 7. It's that behind the car / vehicle,
okay.
and things are quote unquote in front of you and behind you. They're not really. It's just like a 3D simulation. I remember playing that and my mind just leaking out of my ears because it was so amazing.
Like I can see, yeah, in its time it probably would have been pretty amazing, but me seeing it now for the first time,
Yeah.
it reminded me of Street Fighter Alpha 2 in that it just seemed like it was too powerful for the cartridge. Everything was just kind of slow and choppy and chunky.
Oh, yeah. And that gets really frustrating when you're trying to take down the ATs because, I mean, you're coming up on it at about, I don't know, 5 frames per second. So it's really difficult to time.
Like hook, turn, clunk,
Right.
clunk, clunk.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a lot of the levels, particularly Han's levels,
Mm-hmm.
they all just looked the same. Every corridor was the same. You were going up and down and sideways in elevators. You didn't know where you were. It all just blended in beige hallways with the occasional, I guess they were stormtroopers coming out of doors.
Yeah.
Look like they stormtroopers in fur cloaks.
Yeah, the Han stage and the Echo base is exactly like you said. I mean, it just everything looks exactly the same. And it's confusing because the Echo base is split up into 2 stages. So I was trying to help you by looking stuff up to tell you where to go, what to pick up, that kind of thing. But I couldn't find, well, first of all, the game fact was awful. So I tried to find
And
a
there was
video.
only one.
Right.
So
So I tried to find a video. The video, it was impossible to figure out where you were because everything looked the same. And so when I would fast forward or rewind in the video, I'd be like, I don't know if you've done this already. Like I'm sitting there watching you play it and I still don't know if you've done it already.
is there a spider? No. What does your gun look like? Beams? Or they go side by side? No.
All right, you're not there yet.
Well,
By the way, there's going to be a spider, which also I don't remember from the movie.
what?
Yeah, sorry, I don't remember the snow spiders.
Han Solo's not going to shoot robot spiders. I don't give a damn. But the bosses were your stereotypical. I guess they were broke canon, and they were just kind of typical of that time period. Of the bosses were just bigger versions of regular monsters that took a lot more hits.
Yeah, like one of the drones is one of the first bosses you fight as Luke. You know, one of the kind of the spidery looking floating robots.
Yeah.
There's no giant drone in the movie. Yeah, that's exactly what you said. They took a drone and just made it gigantic.
Yeah. So there's no giant wampa, no giant drone. Is there the giant caterpillar thing in Yoda's swamp?
And Dagobah, no, there is not.
Okay.
I mean, there's something under the water, but they never show it to you. It's a mystery.
Okay. Well, I guess that's what it is.
That's what it was.
I also want to bitch about that level.
Okay.
To where
I know what you're
that's
gonna
where
get
you
at.
meet Yoda. Yoda's training you in the Force, and training you in the Force is going through one of the levels on Dagobah.
Yeah.
All the Force powers are really high in the trees, and you're on a forced scroll, so you just have to jump up really high and get like 10 Force powers that are just in one easily missable chunk way up in the sky.
Yeah. Another complaint is there's no indication that those are up there.
Yep. So
Like,
you don't know if
there's
there's
none.
Force power. Either there's Force powers in the game, or there's not Force powers in the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's unfortunate that they're all up there in the same damn spot because if they were kind of in different places, like you could, let's just assume you stumble upon one. You might think, oh, a Force power. Maybe there are more in this level. But no, the way this stage is done is if you find one, well, you're going to find the rest of them because it's right next to it. There's no like breadcrumbs that you can, maybe, I don't know. It's just either you find them or you don't.
So
There's no figuring it out.
some director or manager was just like, you need to put Force powers in there. Oh, we already have the game. Just put it in a level somewhere.
Yeah.
I want Force powers. Force powers, damn it.
Well, they got to the end and they're like, boss, this Luke guy, he does magic? I don't know. And we don't have any magic in the game. And he's like, all right, you know that section where you're forced to scroll really fast? Put 12 of them really high. Sir, they might not find, I don't just Do it.
Somehow make it game fact. It's fine. Make it where you'll only use the one that heals you.
Sure.
Put like 12 up there, just one you'll use.
Wouldn't you rather put them in Vader's home?
No, that's where Illusion Vader goes.
Oh, okay.
Because, it's like whenever you go to see your dad and he's not really there. And you wish he was there, but he's not really there for you. And then he breaks down and...
Sir, you okay?
Yeah. That's also how I imagine the first half of the second season of Friday Night Lights is written to make a complete departure.
I've never seen any Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights is such an amazing show, start to finish, except for like the first 4 episodes of season 2.
Really?
And it is horrible.
Really?
It is so horrible. I don't want to spoil it for anybody,
Okay.
but Jacob and I used to make jokes because I don't know what writers were thinking about that. I compare it to a part in Oz. Mm-hmm. In Oz...
I'm terrified of prison, so I'll never watch Oz.
I know you're not going to watch that.
I'm also terrified of playing football, so I'll never watch Friday Night Lights.
See, I don't even know the rules of football, but I watched Friday Night Lights. It was good. But in Oz, they develop a pill that makes you age the years that you were sentenced.
This is an Oz. I thought Oz was like a realistic thing.
This is in Oz. So they give...
Wait, isn't Oz a realistic...
It's a realistic depiction of prison.
Okay.
But yes, they give you, like, if you're sentenced to 40 years, they'll just give you a pill that makes you age 40 years. So then there's the debate about that reforming people or not, and they give it to the main character and his brother. Doesn't work on the main character, works on his brother, and he turns into an old man in the course of a few episodes. I'm serious.
Did someone wake up at the end?
No, they just
What the fuck?
in like 2 more episodes, and then they just they drop it, and somebody just says, that didn't work out. He turned back. And then they move on and never talk about it.
It says that someone that's dialogue.
That is essentially the dialogue that goes on. Like it wore off. That's not an effective treatment, and so whoever wrote that got fired, and they moved on.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
So yeah.
So I need to watch that episode of Oz.
Just that little arc right there.
I'd link the episode in the show notes, but HBO'd shut us down.
Yeah.
So what the fuck were we talking about before we started talking about Saturday Night Live?
Just wedging all those powers into that level.
Right.
Like just forcing something and then realizing, it doesn't work very well.
I like how that's good. That's good. You kept that in mind the whole time.
Overall, since I didn't have as much nostalgia factor as any fans of the game, not a fan of this game. All 3 of the Star Wars games came out for Super Nintendo are all in the top 100.
Yes.
And this is on the bottom. I get it. I get why. I see why it's on the top 10.
100.
Or I see why it's on the top 100 in the bottom 10 of the top 100.
Important. Yeah.
I get that, but yeah.
All right, man. Having played Super Star Wars A New Hope and Super Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, I really don't think you're going to enjoy the original.
Enjoy any of them?
I never played Jedi, so that might be an excellent game. But the original Super Star Wars is so much harder than this game we just played. Mm-hmm. It is so much harder than Super Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. They put things in Empire Strikes Back to make it easier than the original Super Star Wars. There were no passwords in the original Super Star Wars. Characters didn't have secondary weapons. So Luke wasn't using the Force, which makes sense from a story point because he wasn't using the Force in A New Hope. But Han doesn't have his grenades. He can't throw grenades like he can in Empire Strikes Back, which we defeated a few bosses. I know I did. I beat one boss for spamming. I spammed 36 grenades on a boss.
So you got tired of dying a few times and you were just like, well, blah, 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 blah.
And it took every single one. Like the end of that fight, I threw my last one and it killed me. And then Chewbacca has a spin move in Empire Strikes Back, which gives him like a couple frames of invincibility. That shit is not in Super Star Wars.
But it's essentially the same formula.
Definitely the same style. So I don't know. I'm curious why it's ranked higher than Empire Strikes Back. I remember it being soul-crushingly difficult. I played that one as a kid, and I don't think I ever made it 4 stages in. But that being said, I never made it past the snowspeeder stage as a kid for Empire Strikes Back.
One of those is on like the top 15.
It has
I
to
don't
be
know
Jedi.
which one it is.
It has to be Jedi.
Well, we'll clarify.
find out.
Yep. We'll tell you in a year and a half.
That's right. I really like the vehicle missions. I know that you have some valid points with it being choppy in this Mode 7 business and all that, but those were my favorite levels to play. I had the most fun, but I like vehicle levels. I like the level when you're in the Millennium Falcon and you're in the asteroid field and you're shooting down the TIE fighters, and then there's a stage later where you're Luke in the X-Wing and you're just murdering people in cloud cars. Those are like the red pods that would fly around Bespin.
Okay.
I don't know. You probably remember them coming down and shooting at you.
Okay.
There's a level in Empire Strikes Back where you just blow those up. That's fun too.
Okay. That's what I thought of the game and the movies
Well, I've got
that I haven't seen.
right. But you don't need to now. You can
That's
scratch
true.
Empire Strikes Back off your list.
That's how I'll get it. Robot Chicken and the Super Nintendo games.
Family Guy.
Don't need the Family Guy episodes.
And then you should write a book. What you should do is you should exclusively learn about Star Wars from those three things, and then when you're done, sit down and write a book.
We'll do our own drunk history on YouTube.
Yes.
Where I'll finally get drunk for the first time and I'll recount what I know about Star
You'll
Wars.
combine the two things that are missing in your life, and we'll make something beautiful.
Well, you go to the Death, which is Vader's house.
Vader's house, yeah.
Death Star is Vader's house. That's what they thought it'd be a cool thing to call his house.
There's two Vaders there.
They're
Real Vader, Illusion Vader.
An Illusion Vader is symbolic of the father that Luke never really had.
Shit, Tyler, I got
That's why
some
he's
bourbon. We
going.
can do this. We can start tonight if you want. Well, I've got a question for you,
All right.
Tyler. It's pretty important. I think I know where it's going to go, but we owe it to the listeners. If you were to assign this game a beard on a scale from beard to beard being the highest, what would you rank this game?
I'm going to go out on a cliff here. I'm going to wander up to this unfamiliar ledge. And I'm going to give it 3 blonde, scruffy nerf herder neckbeards.
Nice.
I don't know what that means, but I've heard it before. And supposedly it's derogatory.
It is derogatory. And you know what the best thing is? Leia calls Han that in Empire Strikes Back.
All right, there we go. All I know about Leia is Carrie Fisher, and I've listened to her books, and she's crazy.
Your metachlorian count must be through the roof in order for you to have known that.
That's true.
Without
We need to
seeing
get
the
some
movie.
kind of Dragon Ball Z-esque scanner to just plug into me like that.
Tyler,
Yes, friend David.
if you had to assign this game glasses, a pair of glasses, might not be familiar with this ranking scale, but
No, not as much. Not as much, no.
but if you had to assign this game a pair of glasses, what would you give it?
If I had to, I'm going to retreat off the ledge go onto another ledge I'm a little more familiar with. I'm going to give this 2 small prescription lenses that are affixed into a Jar Jar Binks costume mask.
Okay.
It's got your prescription in it, and you put it on,
Right.
and you look like Jar Jar Binks,
Okay.
but you can see because they're also glasses.
Okay. I think that's more on a limb than the scruffy nerf herder neckbeard. But both acceptable and very appropriate answers. Thank you.
And the Double Dragon Neon 80s answers. Maybe want to tailor the licensing games too.
I think that's a good idea. And you know what? I've heard feedback from our listeners. They really appreciate it.
Good. You're welcome, listeners. I keep drinking this Mondo because it's in front of me and it's so bad.
I know. And
I'm gonna put.
Yeah,
I don't want to. Gotta drink it and regret it, and then drink it and then regret it.
that's exactly why I push mine in the middle of the table, because I knew if I had it nearby, I would just keep slurping on it. Like a big red slurping thing.
And just because I want to put it in the show notes, this is gonna be my impression of the end of episode 3.
Okay, go for it.
No. And then Vader singing that, why did this happen to me? I made a mistake.
That's pretty
Got
good.
nowhere to run.
That's pretty good.
So we'll link
Show
that.
notes material.
You're the man now dog.com in the show notes.
Of course, you know that's where the do not want meme originated, right? Yeah, from the Chinese translation. So if I can find that, surely that original article is still on the internet. If it is, I'll post it in the show notes.
And Snoop Dogg singing to Kirby. That was my first introduction to You're the Man Now. We'll save that one. All right, we'll save that one.
That's my favorite YTM indie. What you think, Tyler? You want to know where some people are now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Feel good about it?
Feel good about one of them.
You should feel good about two of them. Because this is really weird that we have two of them that have been in current events recently. Tyler?
Yes, Dave.
As you know, this game was developed by LucasArts. Yes?
Yes.
Are you familiar with LucasArts?
LucasArts.
Okay.
Grim Fandango, LucasArts.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Where is LucasArts now, Tyler? If you had to guess. If you've been on Reddit in the last 6 months, you should know.
I think LucasArts, did they turn into Light and Sound or something like that and are now acquired by Disney?
Mm-hmm. They didn't turn into Light and Sound, but they were part of Disney's deal.
Okay.
The, $4 billion deal? Yeah. So Disney got LucasArts. Mm-hmm. They're, as you said, famously known for Grim Fandango.
Nodding knowingly. That's a shout out to Wiley Ammons. I didn't get to play Grim Fandango.
It's on our
Wiley
list.
Ammons loves it.
I know it's on your list. It's on my list. You know how you like to play horror games with a group of friends? Mm-hmm. That's how I like to do adventure games because I think that's really a fun way to play those. Nikki and I will normally play them together. Mm-hmm. Like one will be controlling and the other person will be like, well, what about this? Did you try this? Did you try this?
That is good.
But yes, LucasArts, they were known for Grim Fandango, Maniac Mansion.
I believe Bates loves Maniac Mansion. Last time I hung out with her at length, we played through about half of Maniac Mansion on her NES.
The Monkey Island games.
Bought that on Steam. Haven't played it yet.
And the Sam and Max series.
Jacob York, big fan. He had the Sam and Max games when he was little, lost them, cleaned out his horrible, disgusting car
The Mustang.
my sophomore year, the Mustang, found copies of Sam and Max, just inexplicably.
So they were known for a lot of great adventure games. And according to Disney, everything is the way it was. Everything's staying the way it was. And I can believe it because, as you know, they bought Marvel years ago. To my knowledge, not a whole lot has changed.
If it's going to stay the way it was, we're just becoming Skynet. Once Disney and Google merge, and that's it.
Yeah, it's over. What do you want next? Do you want the one that you probably will know the answer to, or the one that you probably will not know the answer to?
We'll end on a high note, so let's go with the one I don't know.
Okay. Sculpted Software, Inc. Have you ever heard of it?
I said the one I probably don't know, Dave. Of course I know where Sculpted Software... No, I don't know. Go, please continue.
I mean, of course you're familiar with Sculpted Software. Where do you think they are now?
I think that they are responsible for the Trauma Center games on the DS and the Wii.
Were those good? I never played them.
I never played them either.
All right. What makes you think that?
Sculpting makes me think about wielding a scalpel. Okay. Sculptor scalpel. There we go. Makes sense. That's my Conan O'Brien logic.
You're very close.
Or my Stephen Colbert logic.
You're very, very close. And you're close because, you ready for this logic? Mm-hmm. Trauma Center games came out for the Wii and DS, which are Nintendo products. In I believe it was, in the 80s. Let me just put it that way. Sculpted Software ported the original Mario Brothers arcade game to Atari.
Oh, okay.
That's what they were famous for. They were famous for taking arcade games and porting them to different platforms. They also did Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego for the Amiga.
So I like these guys. Okay.
The problem is they were no more as of 1995. They were acquired by Acclaim.
Okay. And Acclaim.
So you were close.
Yeah, I just missed it by that much.
Oh, no, just missed it.
Of course, now we have to clip in Maxwell Smart. Missed it by
God.
that much.
Yes. You ready?
Yes.
You ready for the last one?
I'm ready.
You ready to feel good?
I'm ready for this one.
You ready to ride this one out in glorious fashion? Okay. THQ published this game. A little company called THQ. Tyler, where is THQ today?
Oh, they gone. Fire Soul, they gone.
And you know that because you bought all their games for $20 like I did, right?
Yep, the humble THQ bundle.
Yeah, last minute cash grab.
So I saw where they had sold off all their properties to various studios for millions and millions of dollars. They had a few titles I was interested in seeing. Because the Stick of Truth, South Park game,
Right.
they sold that off. I want to say they sold to Ubisoft. I don't recall exactly, but...
Yeah, I don't remember. They took care of everything pretty quickly. I don't know if they're still selling assets. They probably are. But what has sold has sold quick. Because they filed for bankruptcy in December of 2012.
It makes me sad because they were a pretty solid establishment. I guess it's kind of a testimony to how game developers are so scared to make risks now because games are so expensive to make.
Yeah.
That if you falter a little bit, what seemed to be a pretty solid company in THQ when Darksiders 2 didn't do very well.
Well, and if it makes you feel any better, which I'm sure it won't, and probably make you feel worse like it does me, but from doing this podcast, I realized that this has been happening since video games have been made. You know, where it's just kind of like companies doing great, and they're gone.
And they're gone. That was the whole premise behind Code Monkeys that was on G4.
Yeah.
Was they kept getting cannibalized by people who really didn't know anything about gaming, and then they just go back and forth.
Well, Tyler, you got anything else to say?
I've got shout-outs.
Got shout-outs?
Shout-outs.
We have shout-outs?
We have a few.
Really?
We have a few.
Who we got?
All right. I'd like to thank Kevin Link for Facebook shares.
I think I've heard his name before.
He's been around.
Yeah.
He's been around. Ramon Castillo, also known as Ramon Paducah Castillo III.
Okay.
Sharing us on
now
Facebook.
I recognize.
Now you know
right.
who it is.
Okay.
I got to say it very fastly and it's kind of slurred together, so you'd be like, oh, okay.
Always say it fastly.
And Micah Purdue for a Facebook share and contributing to Beard Science.
Yes.
He does all of our... Well, the majority of our fan art.
Yes,
with the
him
Mondo,
and Matt Barger are two leading artists that are hard at work around the clock.
So then we also need to thank Matt Barger for Facebook share and congratulate him on having a baby recently.
Right.
So by the time this comes to where he can listen to it,
Your
she'll
baby
be
will
walking.
be in college.
Yep.
So, hey, congratulations on that, too.
And so he also sent us a message, had a game he wanted us to play.
Right.
Because I was talking about playing
Specifically
Zelda.
you. Right, because you've been playing all this Zelda.
So he has a game he's sending us that should be here any day now called 3D Game Heroes. So we'll absolutely play it, talk about it. So if any more fans want to send us anything that's non-toxic, bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah. Just ask for our addresses. You can ask us on Facebook or you can email me. Tell you what, just email me, okay? At dave@tadpog.com. Matt's sending Tyler this game, so it's my turn to get something. Preferably
Get the bomb.
large, unmarked bills. Great. I won't ask where they came from. Just saying. We don't make any money off this show, okay?
Who is it that ships drugs? FedEx that doesn't check boxes? They'll ship
I don't know
drugs
what
to
you're
your
talking
house?
about. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Thank Megalixer for a Facebook share.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot more about them next episode.
Yes.
So I guess we'll hold it in reserve. Let's just say next episode's, since it's number 90, it's a special episode. Special guest hosts, special stuff with Megalixer.
It's a milestone.
Special episode.
It's going to be an 8-hour-long episode, I think, is what we got on the books.
8 hours long.
So,
We're going to play the game and beat it in real time.
Right.
8 hours. I think Morgan Lythe, he's a Redditor that saw us from our podcasting. Thank him for his kind words and support on Facebook.
yeah, that's a great subreddit.
Thank Jess Dockery, Silk Street Post, always promoting us. Nikki Moore for all of her editing.
She can't take credit for Super Double Dragon.
Nope.
So when all of you listened to Super Double Dragon and you were just so angry and just yelling at your media device for it being cut poorly, that's because I did it and she didn't do it.
Number one super fan, Dennis Robinson for his feedback. That is the end of our shout-outs.
Yeah, our shout-out list is getting short. What the hell? What the hell? We haven't had an iTunes review in 3 weeks?
If we get 1,000 5-star iTunes reviews, I'll watch the Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, if we get 1,000...
Laying that out right now.
If we get 1,000 5-star iTunes reviews, I'll marry a goat.
Slippery slope. You've seen Fox News, Dave. You're just contributing to slippery
I'll
slope.
marry a goat. I'm pretty sure you can marry a woman and a goat at the same time.
If not, Nikki's getting divorced.
That's right.
1,000 5-star.
I made a promise on the show. I'm sorry, darling. You got to understand.
You want to end Dave Moore's marriage? 1,000 5-star Facebook.
But it has to be done in a month. That's my only stipulation.
Okay.
1 month's time.
1,000 a month. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can find the show on iTunes or Stitcher so you don't miss an episode. Next episode we're going to be talking about is Blackthorn.
Right.
So while you're there, don't forget to subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, 1,000 for a divorce, and write a review.
All right, guys. Don't worry. We'll be back next week, like we said, with an 8-hour episode talking about Blackthorn. We got special guests. We got special things going on. We got probably a special Mondo we've been saving. Maybe. So come back.
We do now.
Come back. Listen to us. In the meantime, you can leave us feedback on tadpog.com and find us on Facebook at facebook.com/tadpog. Tadpog.com is where all those sweet, sweet show notes are. That's going to have all the references we talked about on this show. So fucking go there, damn it. Our intro song is Moves by Sycamore Drive. A link to that track can be found in the show notes. In the show notes, dog.
No.
Why did this happen to me? Which is grosser? Super Star Wars Empire Strikes Back or Cherry Mondo?
Cherry Mondo.
Yeah.
Cherry Mondo.
Yeah, by far.